Effective down low, and she can get a lot of people in foul trouble with how physical she is.
Sun turn it over for a fifth time. Oh, and Cunningham is down. My goodness.
A brutal turn of events. Sophie Cunningham's season is over. A play with Bria Hartley sent her to the floor in what looked like a brutal collision. The headline is now a legal one. Hartley has been suspended and is facing a lawsuit for assaulting Cunningham on the court. This event pushes the question of the WNBA state to a critical point. Has the league lost control?
There are growing concerns that veteran guard Bria Hartley intentionally took out Sophie Cunningham, who's out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL. First off, look at this play. Bria Hartley clips Sophie, sends her down, and then she smiles? That's what set everybody off.
What's your take? Was this play dirty or just bad luck? Comment your thoughts below.
It's sad. It's very, very sad and unfortunate what has happened to Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham, let's be clear here. Sophie Cunningham was targeted. Let's be very, very clear here.
It's a sad and unfortunate situation for Sophie Cunningham. Let's be clear here. Sophie Cunningham was targeted. Calling what Hartley did an accident is like calling a mugging a handshake gone wrong. Everybody saw the clip. Sophie Cunningham didn't just trip, she was taken out. It was the kind of basketball play that only exists in some bizarre alternate league where the refs double as blindfolded mall cops.
You can say what you want about this. It didn't look dirty to me, just like a bang bang play under the rim.
I know Bria, and I'm actually really good friends with Bria, and I had been waiting to get on the pod and so we could talk about this. There was no ill intent. I think it was a basketball play. I was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Before anyone jumps in with the classic basketball is physical, it happens line, let's set the record straight. There's physical, and then there's targeted assault. Sophie Cunningham, love her or hate her, plays tough. Plays aggressive. But she's not out there yanking ponytails, dragging people by the head, or throwing players down like it's a UFC fight night. That's Bria Hartley's specialty, and this isn't some one-time mistake either. Hartley's rap sheet looks longer than a CVS receipt, pulling Angel Reese out of the air by her hair, throwing Becca Allen down like she was a sack of laundry, and now ending Sophie Cunningham's season. That's not hard-nosed defense. That's a pattern, a reputation. And honestly, the league pretending it's not happening is about as believable as a politician promising lower taxes. My goodness.
Game, Sophie Cunningham went down. It did not look good. I heard her saying no from the court. It was heartbreaking. I am hoping, this is the hope, that it is more of like a bruised knee type thing. There aren't many updates as of yet, but she will be getting an MRI, so hopefully we'll hear something tomorrow. But judging by the way that the WNBA expands on injuries, it's probably not going to be a lot, but my guess is that she's...
And this is where things get really interesting. Bria Hartley isn't just suspended, she's being sued. And honestly, she should be. When you cross that line from tough defense to a career-threatening cheap shot, you're not just breaking basketball rules, you're opening yourself up legally. Sophie Cunningham has every right to go after Hartley for damages. Missed salary, medical bills, lost opportunities, it adds up. And it sends a message that if the league won't protect its players, the courts might. This lawsuit could open a can of worms. If Hartley can get sued, what's stopping the next player who gets slammed to the ground from doing the same? What's stopping Angel Reese from saying, hey, she pulled my hair, endangered me, I'm filing too? The WNBA is about to find itself in uncharted waters. And frankly, they asked for it. But let's go a layer deeper. Why does a player like Bria Hartley get away with this? It's the psychology of the dirty player, enabled by a permissive system. They operate on a simple principle. If they don't call it, it didn't happen. They push the boundaries until a line is finally drawn, but that line is constantly moving because the referees are unwilling to make the tough call. The lack of accountability from the league becomes a green light for recklessness. It tells players, you can go as far as you want, as long as it's not a punch. It's an unspoken contract between the dirty player and the league. You create controversy and tough guy mystique, and we'll look the other way because drama sells. But what happens when that contract is broken by a career-ending injury and the legal system steps in? The league has no defense. They allowed this behavior to fester, And now, they're left with the consequences. This incident is about more than just a single play. It's a symptom of a league-wide problem. How many injuries have we seen this year? How many times has the WNBA been forced to roll out rosters that look like they were pieced together from a pickup run at LA Fitness? Caitlin Clark missed more games than she's played. Sophie's done. Sydney Colson tore her ACL. A.R. McDonald, a broken foot. And yet somehow, the league office still parades around talking about how this physicality is a badge of honor, a selling point. Really? Because last time I checked, fans don't pay money to watch the IR report scroll across the bottom of ESPN every week. And here's where it gets even more ridiculous. The referees. My God, the refs. These people make WWE referees look competent. Sophie Cunningham gets knocked down, bringing the ball up the floor 75 feet away from the basket. Obvious foul, right? Nope. Play on, Sophie complains. Gets a tech. That's the clown show we're dealing with. Honestly, half these refs should be working the drive-thru at McDonald's or handing out Windex at stoplights because refereeing clearly not their lane. This is a brand crisis for the WNBA. For years, the league has struggled for attention. Now that they have it, they're showing new fans a product that's often reckless, poorly officiated, and results in their biggest stars getting injured. Is the momentary ratings boost from a feud or controversy worth the long-term damage? What about the corporate sponsors who want to be associated with a family-friendly, professional, and world-class product, not a chaotic league where players are getting sued? The WNBA's narrative of toughness has gone from a selling point to a liability. They're telling the world, come for the stars, but stay for the injuries and incompetence. It's a terrible message, and one that will drive away the very audience they fought so hard to attract. Let's take a step back and compare this to other leagues. Remember the NBA in the 80s and 90s? Guys were getting clotheslined, elbowed in the throat, knocked out of the air. It was a tough league. But eventually the NBA realized, hey, maybe we shouldn't let this turn into cage fighting. Rules got stricter, flagrants got handed out, suspensions actually meant something. And guess what? The league thrived. Stars could actually stay on the court. Fans got to see the best players night after night. Shocker. The WNBA is acting like it's never seen this movie before. They're running the Bad Boys Pistons playbook 30 years too late. Except this time, the stars can't survive it. This entire incident also puts the WNBPA, the players' union, in an interesting position. While they've negotiated for better player safety and passed collective bargaining agreements, a civil lawsuit like this changes everything. The lawsuit could be the catalyst that forces the WNBPA to demand more stringent rules and better referee training in their next CBA. The union could argue that the league has a legal duty to protect its players from reckless play, and if they fail, they are liable for the consequences. It shifts the power dynamic and puts pressure on the league office in a way that fan complaints or media criticism never could. This is no longer just about fines or suspensions. It's about players' livelihoods and careers. Beyond the stats and the legal drama, there's a profound human cost. Let's talk about Sophie for a second. This isn't just some bench warmer we're talking about here. Cunningham came into Indiana and immediately gave this team something it desperately needed: fire, fight, and actual production. She was hitting shots, defending like her life depended on it. And most importantly, she had Caitlin Clark's back when no one else would. She wasn't scared to get in somebody's face when Clark got hammered for the 10th time with no whistle. And now she's gone, out for the season with a severe knee injury. A torn MCL isn't just a physical injury. It's a monumental mental and emotional battle. It's months of grueling rehab, pain, and the fear that you might not come back the same. It's the constant question of, what if? What if that play never happened? What if the refs had called it? It's the lonely road back while your teammates are on the court. Hartley may have taken Sophie's season, but she also took her sense of security, her momentum, and a piece of her career. That's the real cost of unchecked recklessness. And don't think for a second that this doesn't all come back to Caitlin Clark. Whether you like it or not, everything in this league somehow comes back to her. Sophie Cunningham was one of the only teammates actually standing up for Clark, taking the hits, dishing some back, and sending a message that Indiana wasn't just going to roll over. Now Sophie's gone, and Clark is even more exposed. You think opponents won't notice that? You think Bria Hartley and her friends won't smell blood in the water? Please. Clark's about to become even more of a target, and Indiana just lost their enforcer. The WNBA is at a crossroads. The lawsuit is a warning shot, a sign that the old rules no longer apply. For years, people laughed at the idea of suing over a foul. But this wasn't a foul. This was a deliberate act that went way past basketball. And if Sophie wins or even settles, it could open the floodgates. What's the league going to do when players realize they don't just have to rely on refs or the commissioner for protection? They can go straight to court. That changes everything. Suddenly, a player like Bria Hartley isn't just worried about a 2-game suspension and a fine. She's worried about paying damages, losing endorsements, and carrying the reputation of being legally responsible for injuring someone. That's a whole new level of accountability. But accountability is something the WNBA has been allergic to this season. The refereeing? Zero accountability. The commissioner? Zero accountability. Dirty players? Practically rewarded. And then they wonder why half the league is in walking boots and knee braces. The most embarrassing part is that fans are starting to question if the league even wants players like Clark or Cunningham healthy. The WNBA has been dying for attention for decades. They finally have it because of Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and others. But instead of protecting those investments, they're letting the league look like a circus. Dirty plays, injuries, lawsuits. It's drama, but it's not the kind that grows the game. And trust me, Clark notices. At some point, you've got to wonder how long before Clark herself says enough is enough. How long before she questions whether this league even deserves her. Because if the WNBA keeps this up, Clark won't be the only one reconsidering. The WNBA could fix this tomorrow. They could set the tone by making Hartley's suspension meaningful, not just a slap on the wrist. They could retrain their refs to actually enforce the rulebook. They could prioritize player safety instead of pretending toughness is the same thing as recklessness. But will they? History says no. They'll sweep it under the rug, issue some half-hearted statement, and then act shocked when the next injury happens. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham's career hangs in the balance. So, yes, Bria Hartley got suspended. Yes, she's getting sued. But that's not enough. The real question is, what's the WNBA going to do to stop this from happening again? Because if the answer is nothing, then brace yourselves, because Sophie Cunningham won't be the last name on that injury list. Not even close. So there you have it. Bria Hartley suspended, sued, and exposed as the league's dirtiest player. Sophie Cunningham's season is gone. Indiana's future is shaky, and the WNBA's leadership looks clueless yet again. What's your take? Should Hartley ever play again, or is this the end of the line? Drop your thoughts and don't forget to like and subscribe.